Hey everyone, welcome back. Every season there is a race to see who can be the first legend live on stream. It's always a very tough race with so many great battlers competing. In the past two seasons, in both season 17 and season 18, I have actually been able to win the race and be the first legend on stream. So this season I felt the pressure was on. I really wanted to defend my title, but it was tricky. There are people like Rise to Occasion, SS Thorn, Wild Jeffs, all pushing, all getting into the 2900s, getting so close to getting to legend. But today I was able to climb nearly 100 points to get to legend in the Go Battle League. Let's take a look at how I became the first streamer to get legend in season 19. Alright, let's get into the first battle of the day here. We're going to have our Mantine lead into a Mandibuzz. In this matchup, if I had Ice Beam on my Mantine, I'd be feeling a lot more comfortable, but we were running Water Pulse here just to have a little bit more coverage into the Steel types. Water Pulse is still a better move to throw than Aerial Ace, so we'll go for it here and see if he gets a shield from this or not. Water Pulse does land. We do take a decent chunk of this Mandibuzz's health, but Mandy is extremely bulky. It's going to take more than 2 Water Pulses to knock them out, and at the point that we could get to that third move, they'd probably knock us out with both Aerial Ace and with Snarl. So at this point, we're just trying to whittle this down, make it so our Annihilate in the back will not have to face this. Maybe just try to strip shields at this point, see if we can make it so our Stone Edge in the back with our Quagsire could potentially knock this out. But no, our opponent is smart. They're no-shielding their Mandibuzz. They know they easily win this matchup. But I also know that my Quagsire could likely get to a move here before they can get to another move. So Quagsire comes in, and they instantly swap to their own Shadow Whiscash. This is a decent matchup for Quagsire, especially because I can outspam them pretty heavily, but it's going to be not a hard win. If they get a Scald debuff, it could be bad. If they land a Scald, honestly, that's going to do a ton of damage. Luckily, we've already put them below half health with Aqua Tail and with Mud Shot damage. We shielded the Scald here properly, and is it going to get a debuff? Obviously, it does not there. That's very good news for us. Get another Aqua Tail off. They're going to have to shield this if they don't want to lose their Whiscash, which they end up doing. We get another Aqua Tail off. This is just how spammy Quagsire is here. This Aqua Tail will be enough to knock out if they no-shield it, so we are able to draw the second shield here. This is kind of tricky, though, because Mandibuzz is still alive. At this point, this Whiscash is kind of loaded. If they bait me with a Mud Bomb, they'll be able to land one before I can get a move off. And they do go for the bait there. They actually make a nice catch onto Mandibuzz. Honestly, I'm kind of fine with this, though. That catch is going to mean that my Annihilate will not have to deal with that in the back. This Whiscash is still loaded, though, so they might be able to land a move here on my Quagsire. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see what they want to do. They come back in with Whiscash. They throw a move. Is it going to be a Mud Bomb? Is it going to be a Scald? We'll just have to see if we can survive the move. And it is a Scald. We're not going to get another move, so we swap to our Annihilate. We try to hope right now that there's something in the back Annihilate can one-shot with a Shadow Ball, or maybe just spam through with Night Slashes and take the game with. What is it going to be? It is a Skeleturge. That is something that Shadow Ball would do more than enough to knock out, and we were able to take a win in a very tricky game number 1. Next match here against the Goodra lead. This is a terrible lead. We don't really want to see this on either our Mantine or on our Quagsire, but Quagsire is, a pick that has play with Stone Edge. Mantine has play with Aerial Ace. I build up to the 7 wing attacks. I know that I'm not running Ice Beam, but they don't know that. So by throwing after 7, I bait that I have Ice Beam, and then I can throw double Aerial Ace. They get a little bit greedy here. They don't throw their energy first, which means that I can get 2 moves off, chip this down, and get a shield. So honestly, even though this is a pretty bad matchup because of their Thunder Punch that they have, it's not going to be a matchup that I don't get an advantage from. We can come with our Annihilate, farm this all the way down. Hopefully they only get to 1 Aqua Tail against me. We'll have to see what they can do. These counters are doing so much damage here. As long as they're not going to be able to get another move here, or as long as they're not at back-to-back right now, we should only take this 1 Aqua Tail. We do counter them down. What is going to come in to try to absorb our energy? It's a Lantern, a Spark Lantern at that, so they don't have a ton of fast move pressure, but they can build up energy quite a bit quicker. At this point, if they shield this, I'm going to come in with my Quagsire. If they no shield, then I just stay in an Ape. They do shield it. We swap to our Quagsire. I guess we get the win there just pretty easily. They must have been pretty weak to Quagsire in the back. Next matchup, Mantine lead into Annihilate. First really good lead of the day, and it's met by a Dewgong safe swap. We have a hard answer for this with our fighter. We want to keep switch advantage at all costs here, because I'm thinking right now, if they have an Annihilate bleed, if they have a Dewgong right here, there's a high chance that there's something like, maybe a Bastiodon, maybe a Shadow Alolan Sandslash in the back. So we want to keep switch advantage if we can. Shadow Ball will knock them out if they let it go, but Dewgong is able to kind of keep up in this matchup if they start shielding. We're already debuffed, so at this point we're going to have to go for Night Slashes. We can't farm them all the way down. We can get a Night Slash, we can get to double Night Slash even, which means that if they shield once, they're going to have to shield twice, and they won't even get the move off here. So we're in a great spot. Is Annihilate going to come back in? What's going to come in here? It's going to be the Bastiodon, so we know they're full team. I go for the Shadow Ball, but I know since it's Basti, even if I can't get the move off, we have our Quagsire that can answer this. So it is the classic Jason team with that Annihilate bleed, and then 2 things weak to counter in the back. We're able to keep alignment. There's still that Ape in the back, but our Mantine could RPS it, they see it, and we can take the win there. Next matchup here, we're going to see a Mantine lead into a Gligar. This is a decent matchup, but honestly, I don't really like being the Mantine here because it's very bait reliant. If I can land a Water Pulse, this Gligar is going to basically get one shot, but if I can't, if they call an Aerial Ace properly, then I'm going to be in a tricky situation where we pace on even energy here to our Aerial Aces. So I'm going to go straight for, I want to land this Water Pulse if I can. If they no-shield this is a great matchup. If they shield it, at least it's going to be one less shield I'll have to worry about later on. They do end up shielding it here. I'm going to try to get to another Water Pulse. This is a bit of a mistake. I no-shield this move. I don't know Mantine too well. I thought I might survive this, but I don't. This is not great. But with that said, Quagsire, it's so spammy. I get the CMP on the Aqua Tail. I can deny them of all of this energy unless they want to double shield their Gligar in the lead. They let it go, it one-shots them, and in the back is going to be a Shadow Poliwrath and then a Charjabug. So up shields or Annihilape should have a lot of play here. Annihilape is a very strong Pokemon as long as you're not met by a Mandibuzz or a Wigglytuff. Charjabug is generally an answer to fighting-type Pokemon, but Annihilape, with the counters and with the Shadow Balls, will be able to start threatening it pretty early on here. And we also have an energy lead going into this matchup because we did safe swap, meaning we can get to a Night Slash here before they get to that discharge. I'm going to CMP them make this decision early. Are they going to shield their Charjabug or are they going to let it go and try to win the game with Poliwrath? They shield a 1 HP Charjabug. I can easily shield the discharge here, get the farm down, and try to chip down that Poliwrath. I know I'm not going to be able to get to a Shadow Ball before they get to an Icy Wind on Poliwrath, so I'm going to go for the Night Slash on 7, right before I get the move, but they overfarm. If I would have gone for the Shadow Ball, I could have actually got it. They would have let me get that move off, but we don't. We end up going for the Night Slash, which still is valuable chip damage. We get another Night Slash off on CMP, so now we are in a great spot. Even if we didn't get this move off, though, our Quagsire would likely be able to knock this out with an Aqua Tail. Oh, it looks like they're actually waiting a turn. It wasn't even CMP there. But this move will not, or this will knock us out easily here, but it's not going to be enough, right? They need to get a Scald onto us, but they don't have enough energy. Our Quagsire can Mudshot down the Shadow Poliwrath. All right, next matchup, we're going to see our Mantine lead into a Charjabug. Absolutely terrible lead. It doesn't get worse than this. We can do one Wing Attack, then swap to our Quagsire to transfer that Volt Switch damage and also get a bit of an energy lead on our Mantine later on. Mantine hates electric types, but luckily this is not a Lantern, which means my charge moves do a decent chunk of damage, especially after landing this Aqua Tail here. I'm going to be able to maybe deal with this Charjabug later on with my Mantine. X-Scissor does a lot, but since we got a lot of chip damage on that Charjabug, and we still have energy on our Quagsire, I'm honestly in a pretty decent spot here. We see the Azumarill come in, which is pretty nice. It means that we're not going to have to deal with this with our Annihilape in the back, and we can neutralize this with our Mantine. Good counting by them. They throw right before I get the next Stone Edge. We can come in, absorb all of the energy on Mantine, and hopefully get energy lead so we can start throwing Water Pulses against that Charjabug. They're going to throw a couple more bubbles. We're going to throw Aerial Ace here of our own. Luckily, we do have the Wing Attack breakpoint, which means we will get a lot more fast move pressure here, but I don't know if I can farm them all the way down before they get to 2 charge moves, which means either I have to shield, I have to let it go and almost get knocked out, or I have to just throw energy before they get to that second move. What I choose to do is going to be to actually throw at the last second here. I still have a lot of energy, so I don't have to go down resources here, aside from just like a whole Aerial Ace of damage, but we have a Water Pulse nearly loaded right now. We can throw it, guarantee a shield, and then because this is a Charjabug, right, they're going to have to throw discharges against both my Mantine and against my Annihilape. They don't get to use their more optimal move of X-Scissor. We can swap into Ape, CMP on the Night Slash here. They're going to make yet another decision. Are they going to shield this? It's a very low Pokemon, and they do. We have 2 shields left over on our Annihilape. I'm just going to shield this, farm this all the way down, and start Shadow Balling whatever's in the back. We'll have to see what they want to do here. They actually end up top lefting, and we can take a win on a Charjabug into Mantine lead. All right, next matchup, Mantine into Lickitung. This is a tricky lead matchup. Mantine is terrible when it comes to these just bulky neutral situations here, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to build up energy here. They actually throw energy pretty early on, which means I think I want to swap over to my Shadow Quagsire. This is because I have fought this trainer earlier. I know that they're running Annihilape. I know that they're running Shadow Gligar in the back, so I don't really want to play out that lead matchup knowing that I probably want to get my Mantine against that Ape later on. I shield up a power up properly here, and we have a lot of energy headed in this Annihilape matchup. We can start spamming out these Aqua Tails. Not quite enough to 2-shot, but after fast move pressure, it will be. So we can get all this energy off. Are they going to throw a Night Slash right when they get to the move, or are they going to try to still build up to a Shadow Ball? That's going to be the big question here. We get this next Aqua Tail off, and if this lands, at this point, I can just shield and farm them all the way down, have energy to go into the back line, and maybe have play against whatever the third is. I shouldn't say whatever. I know it's a Gligar in the back, so it's a Lickitung and Gligar we'll have to deal with. Double shielding my Quagsire here means that if that Lickitung comes back in, I can get a lot of chip damage, and Gligar can't come back in. So we do see that it's going to be that Licky that comes back in here. We get an Aqua Tail off, and I think there's a chance I can get to another Stone Edge, actually. I know that my Quagsire has the lick bulk point here, so I do survive these licks long enough to get to this Stone Edge. It won't quite knock them out, but it'll put them low enough where it's not really going to be a big threat for either of my other two Pokemon. I instantly swap here to try to snipe them down with my Annihilate, but they're very smart. They swap at the same time, they bank their energy, so they almost have a Body Slam loaded on Lickitung that they swapped out with. We can just go straight Night Slash here, try our best to get chip damage into this Gligar. If they undercharge us at all to try to get more energy, I have another Night Slash loaded, and we also have a ton of energy left over on Mantine that we got from the lead matchup. So at this point, I can get a shield by going with Aerial Ace. If they no shield, then I can farm them down. If they end up shielding, then I can go for the Water Pulse and knock them out for sure. Aerial Ace is going to come through. Are they going to let it go and try to survive? Are they going to shield it? We'll just have to see. Even if they let it go, I think I could farm them down. And at this point, since they did get the shield, I'm just going to go the Water Pulse. I know this is a guaranteed knockout, and I know that that Lickitung has energy, so overfarming here wouldn't really help either way. I get a Wing Attack through. It puts it at 1 HP. Is there any chance that my Quagsire can survive long enough to get a Mud Shot down against this Lickitung? We barely do. We get the Mud Shot through. It knocks out the Lickitung. We win with 1 HP. Next matchup, we're going to see our Mantine into a Shadow Dragonair. This is a decent matchup. Honestly, I don't like being the Dragonair in this situation, so being the Mantine for once is kind of nice. We can bait the Ice Beam, and we can also just go double Aerial Ace in the Zero Shield matchup and probably take a shield and a ton of health off of this Shadow Dragonair. Dragonair does shield the first move. It does respect the Ice Beam, but we can get off this next Aerial Ace here and likely get a decent amount of chip damage into them. They still haven't thrown energy here, which is very odd to me, and they let a sneak happen. So what I'm thinking I could do is maybe I can try to snipe them down here with my Annihilate by getting one counter through. Do a Wing Attack, and then swap and snipe them down before they can get any energy off. Azumarill comes in. Azu is generally a decent Annihilate counter, but up energy and up shields, I'd rather be the Annihilate here, honestly. We can shield up the first move. They probably are going to bait me with Ice Beam, but that's fine. We're up energy. It doesn't really matter if they bait me. We go for the Shadow Ball. Are they going to shield? Are they going to let it go? If they let it go, their Azu's going to be pretty low, and they only have one more Pokemon in the back. They do end up shielding pretty early on here, and so I know that at this point, I can just go for the Shadow Balls, get up as much energy as I can, and they let yet another sneak happen. I can throw the Shadow Ball, get a huge chunk of their health off, and I just need to hope that the third Pokemon is not going to hardwall my Quagsire as my third. We get this move off. What are they going to do? I'm going to try my best to get my Shadow Ball off, but I know that I wouldn't get it before the Ice Beam. I try to make a catch, but I have energy loaded. They swap at the same exact time as me. These are the kind of high-level plays that you have to expect at the top of the leaderboard. We both swapped, anticipating that we were both going to try to sack swap there. Kind of a crazy play, but they sack swapped into a Toxapex, which means my Shadow Quagsire can get this Stone Edge off, get as much energy as I possibly can here, so I have energy to threaten that Azumarill with. We are going to take a Brine. Luckily, Brine is not the best move in the game, and we resist the Poison Jabs from this Toxapex. It's a very bulky Pokemon, so these moves aren't going to do that much damage. I can survive yet another Brine, build up enough energy that I can Stone Edge that Azumarill, and then hopefully take the game with my Annihilate in the back. I'm also thinking at this point, I'm just 2 Mud Shots away from my Stone Edge. I could probably just Stone Edge that Azu, take the win here. If they don't throw energy at me, then I get the Stone Edge off. If they do throw energy at me, I can just get the Shadow Ball on my Ape. We get the Stone Edge off. That's going to be more than enough now to knock out this Azumarill, and we can take the game here. All right, next matchup, what are we going to see? We're going to see our Mantine lead into a Mantine. Okay, mirror match. A very interesting thing to see here. It could be basically anything in the back. It's likely going to be electric type counters. It might be a mirror team as well. Who's to say? It could always be something wacky as well. Maybe ABA weak to electric. I've seen so many strange ABA teams here on the leaderboard. We throw an Aerial Ace. We throw a second Aerial Ace. They haven't thrown any energy yet, so I don't know what they're planning here. If they don't throw energy soon, they're going to go over 100, which is honestly fine by me. It looks like they actually went for 13 Wing Attacks, which means they did go a little bit over 100. That's a bit wasteful. It means I'll outpace to the third Aerial Ace. They don't Ice Beam me, so it's likely the same moveset that I'm running. And here we see the Shadow Quagsire sack swap on this Aerial Ace. I'm actually kind of fine with this. I'm really starting to think maybe it's a mirror team at this point. There could be their own Annihilate in the back. We are in a fine matchup here with Annihilate, though. We can take one move, we can farm them down, and we can try to use our Night Slashes against that Mantine if it comes back in, or if it doesn't, then we can maybe use our energy somewhere else. We can survive this move as well because Annihilate is relatively, well, I shouldn't say bulky, but it's not the squishiest Pokemon out there. There's definitely squishier Pokemon. So we survive that move, we get this Night Slash off. If they shield, we have a second one. If not, then we can just throw this Night Slash into whatever comes in, and it's going to be their own Annihilate. So it is a strict mirror matchup here. There's no shenanigans with anything. It's, Shadow Quag, it's Mantine lead, it's Annihilate in the back. It's literally the same exact team. Luckily, we have a bit of an advantage here in the fact that our Mantine is a bit higher health. I can bring this in, absorb the Night Slash, and get an Aerial Ace off to take a shield from them. At this point, my Quagsire is so spammy. I know that if I swap it in now, I should be able to build up enough energy to be a real threat into the backline. Mantine of theirs is still alive, but we get the CMP on this Aqua Tail. I'll shield this for sure. Actually, no, it's probably a Night Slash, right? I'll no shield for sure. Because if they're not at the Shadow Ball, the Night Slash is probably going to do less damage than whatever that Mantine could throw at me. They swapped out with a decent amount of energy. We will take their shield, and at this point, I know I can just shield this next move and then go for a Stone Edge if they bring in that Mantine, because that Mantine is not at back-to-back moves yet. Night Slash comes through. We can farm up a little bit of extra energy, then go for one Mud Shot, get the Stone Edge off, and then that Annihilate, since it is dry, is going to be out of range of getting to their Night Slash before we get the Aqua Tail off. Stone Edge comes through, it knocks them out. We're 4 Mud Shots away. As long as we're fine on our counts here, we will get the move off, and we do. We get the Aqua Tail right before they get the Night Slash. It's going to be more than enough to knock out at this point, taking us the win. All right, our next matchup here is going to be our Mantine lead into a Shadow Gligar. We saw how this matchup played out earlier. Maybe I'll play it out better. Maybe I'll play it out worse. We'll just have to see how it goes. At least now we have some experience here, so there's a decent chance that I'll actually know how to deal with this. Aerial Ace comes through. It doesn't quite get us under half, but then they actually just instantly swap into their Feraligatr after throwing that move. We don't have a hard Gator answer. Honestly, that's what my Mantine is. So having this here and knowing that there's still that Gligar in the back is a little bit frightening. I don't think this Aerial Ace is going to knock out because this is a non-shadow as well. So coming in with my Annihilate, shielding and farming down might just be my best play. At this point, that Gligar is dry, so my Annihilate should be able to get enough damage onto them to make up for the fact that I have to shield and move here. Feraligatr does get knocked out. We're almost at full health. Their Gligar does come in. We're going to throw after 7. I know this is a crazy play, but by throwing after 7, that's not a Shadow Ball. They might actually think I'm running Ice Punch. They do end up shielding that. We go for the Night Slash on CMP. This is huge, because this means that we're not going to have a lot of energy to deal with from this Gligar, and it means we're actually going to get some decent chip damage. We get a boost, but there's no way I ever shield in this matchup, so it's basically the most useless boost of my life. This Aerial Ace will knock us out. We have our Quagsire and we have our Mantine both that we could use here. Quagsire is going to be able to outpace them to move, so I'm going to come in Quagsire, CMP on the Aqua Tail. Are they going to want to shield this? Are they just going to let it go? It really depends on what their third Pokemon is in the back and how much play we're going to have into it. It is a Shadow Empoleon. Don't see this too often, especially in the back. Normally I see this as a lead, if anything. I think I'm in a pretty good spot here. You can see the Mud Shots are chunking. The one bad thing about Quagsire is not having ground move pressure with the charge moves. So that means that we're going to have to rely on just resisted charge moves, fast move pressure, and maybe close this game out with Mantine. Smart shield by them. They shield up the Stone Edge, meaning I don't get a huge amount of damage onto them, but I can get this Aqua Tail off. Still puts them pretty low, and after these Mud Shots, I'm pretty sure my Mantine should be able to Wing Attack them down in 5. If not, they'll win the game. If they do get Wing Attack down in 5, though, we will take the match, and it looks like just barely we do get that Wing Attack down right when they get the move, and we can take the win here once again with our Mantine. All right, next matchup, we're going to see our lead into a Shadow Quagsire. This lead is very precarious. They have Stone Edge, they have Aqua Tail. They can always try to bait me. If they do get a proper bait scenario, they can end up trying to flip this matchup as well. I don't wall this like I would a Shadow Whiscash, so seeing this here is kind of frightening. We do shield the Stone Edge properly, and they bring in a Skarmory. I don't have a hard answer to this with this team, especially down shields. I can get some chip damage here with a Water Pulse, come in with my Ape, and try to at least, maybe strip shields by going Night Slashes, or just keep Switch Advantage and have energy on my Ape to go against their backline. They're going to throw a move here. It's a Sky Attack. We easily shield that up, and we have a lot of energy loaded on our Ape. I'm going to throw before they can get to their next move so I can throw back-to-back in case they end up shielding, and if they don't, we have energy to go into whatever they have in the back. Looks like they do end up shielding the first move, so they're going to probably shield both, maybe try to take me out with a Sky Attack, and we'll have to see what their third Pokemon is going to be. They get the Sky Attack off, obviously more than enough to knock us out at this point. Oh, it's actually a Brave Bird. That's interesting. Now that they threw a Brave Bird, they are probably trying to give me less farm down, but that actually gives me the option to farm them down with my Mantine instead. I can get a ton of energy out of that. If the Quagsire comes in, I have energy for it. If it's the Charge Bug, I guess they'll still try to chip it, because if I get this Water Pulse off, then maybe I can put them in range where my Quagsire is going to be able to knock them out with an Aqua Tail. They stay in here, they're likely going to try to get some chip damage onto me. If they stay in too long, I can Stone Edge them. Otherwise, then I can throw some moves against that Quagsire if it comes back in. I have 2 Aqua Tails, definitely going to throw them here, because if I can get these Aqua Tails off before they get their Stone Edge, or their Aqua Tail rather, against my Quagsire, then I'm not going to have to worry about taking too much damage here. They're also going to have to throw an X-Scissor with their Charge Bug very soon. If they don't, I'll get an Aqua Tail and basically put them into fast move farm down range. They know that they throw instantly. They are 3 Volt Switches away from a Discharge. X-Scissor wouldn't knock out my Mantine, so they have to go for the Discharge here. And we have enough energy where we can get the move here right before they get their Discharge, take the win with the Water Pulse, knock out the Charge Bug with our Mantine, and overcome the Shadow Quagsire lead. Very tricky matchup, but a fun matchup to try to play out nonetheless. All right, next matchup here, we're going to see our Mantine lead into yet another Shadow Quagsire. We just saw how this played out. It's very precarious, but as long as I can shield the stone edges properly, Mantine is in a very solid spot. The fact that they're staying in this, too, really makes me think that they might be weak to Mantine in the back. Things like Annihilate do pair very well with Shadow Quagsire, as we know since we're using it ourselves. So if they are staying in this, I'm thinking it could be that Annihilate in the back. I want to keep my Mantine healthy. My backline has play into Ape, but it's not necessarily a good backline into it if I'm down shields or down energy. The second Aerialist will come through. If they end up shielding this, then we'll have shield parity. If they don't, then I'd be able to just take switch advantage there pretty easily and keep my Mantine alive. I'm going to shield up another move here. I know that this could be a Stone Edge. It's a tough call. I almost let that go because I didn't know for sure what it would be. An Aquatail bait would be devastating. Luckily, we are shielding up these Stone Edges properly here today. We get this Aerialist through. We see that the Shadow Alolan Sandslash comes through. At this point, it's like, you know, I'm pretty sure that you have an Ape in the back with the way you played out that lead, so I want to keep my Mantine alive. I can Safe Swap my Quagsire. I'm very strong against A-Slash in the back, so I don't really need Switch against it. They throw a move before swapping out. Maybe they're going to try to get an energy lead on their Annihilate coming back in, and there is the Ape. We knew they had it just with the way they were playing out that lead. Aquatail will do a decent amount of damage. It'll put them into fast attack farm down range, or potentially into range where Aerialist could knock them out. And this is a little precarious, though. If they can knock out my my Mantine here, there's a chance they can sweep the back line with Shadow Balls. Shadow Ball is going to come through here. It's going to not get the knockout, but it puts me very low, almost in range where Night Slash could knock me out. I know at this point, though, they have to Shadow Ball my Ape, and they have to Night Slash this. They will never get enough energy to get a Shadow Ball on my Annihilate before I can get to my Night Slash on my own Ape. Looks like I get this move off. They weren't quite sure on their counts there. I was overfarming a little bit in that lead matchup, so they didn't know for sure where my energy was at. I can swap into my Annihilate, get the counter down, and take the game. That was a very tricky matchup, and I think that was actually our last game before getting to Legend. That was the 5-0, the end of the 5-0 set. Nice throw me. We land the Ultra Ball on the Lickitung. Good stuff. Is the 5-0 going to be enough? We were just under, I think we're actually just over 50 points off, but 5-0s at this range, very, very low point distributions here. What is it going to be? We get up to 3002 ELO, just barely able to hit Legend and get it, the first streamer to Legend here in Go Battle League Season 19. This is the third season in a row that I've been able to make this accomplishment. First time I've been able to record it here for YouTube. It is always so stressful to try to get it. There's so many great battlers, so many great streamers who put their content out there, who stream their battles and overcome the challenges that come with it. But overall, I love streaming. There's no reason that I ever want to stop doing it. And I do love playing Pokemon Go too. There's always some issues with the game, but it's hard for me not to just realize how much I've got out of this game and how much fun I can have playing it. Thank you all so much for watching this video. It's been so much fun making these videos on YouTube. I have so many more videos planned, and I also stream Pokemon Go PvP live basically every day on twitch.tv/itsaxton. So if you want to see content like this live, make sure to check me out there. All right, thank you so much for watching. Take care, and goodbye.